Part A, solve t plus t plus t equals 12. Okay, so I can see that this question is all about solving equations. So I'm highlighting the word solve. Whenever it says solve, that is code for equation. Now, what's an equation? An equation is anything that contains an equals sign, which is why I'm highlighting the equal signs here, okay? So when you are asked to solve, it means you are solving an equation, and an equation must contain an equals sign. And what is the aim when you're solving an equation? Well, when you're solving an equation, you are aiming to get the value of the letter on its own, which is why, if I get my different highlighter, you can see that this is the aim of solving an equation. You're trying to get the value of this letter on its own, okay? So you can see, well, you can see especially well on this one, there's a lot of stuff in the way of W being on its own. So the aim of solving an equation is to kind of get rid of all those things that are in the way of the letter in order to leave the letter on its own and find the value of it. So let's start with the top one here, part A. So it says solve t plus t plus t equals 12. There's several ways you can do this. You can either think about what same number do I add together 3 times to give 12. You can think about it like this if you want. Box plus box plus box equals 12. But importantly, where those boxes all have the same value. Okay, obviously you could do lots of different combinations there to give you 12, but we need it to be the same value. And the only number that you can put in there that has the same value that adds together 3 times to give 12 is 4. 4, 8, 12. Okay, so your answer there is 4. How do we do it in a bit more sophisticated manner? Because of course we need to think about our algebra, and we need to be able to, try and get to equations such as this at the bottom. So t plus t plus t can be written algebraically as 3t. 3t equals 12. 3t equals 12. And remember, the aim is to get t on its own. So we say, what is getting in the way of t being on its own? Well, what's getting in the way is the 3. Now, 3t means 3 lots of t. So 3t actually equals or means 3 multiplied by t. That's what it means algebraically. 3t means 3 multiplied by t. So how do we get rid of that 3 or undo it, so to speak? We undo it by dividing by 3. Okay, to get from this to this, we need to undo the 3t, and we undo it by dividing by 3. But if we do that to that side of the equal sign, we must do it to this side of the equal sign. So we divide this by 3 as well. And if you do 12 divided by 3, you get 4, which is why we have got, obviously, our answer from before as 4. The other way that you might have learnt it at school is, if this is the equation, 3t equals 12, you might have used a flow diagram or a function machine. And you can think about the letter. The letter has been multiplied by 3 to get 12. So how do we get back to the value of t? Well, we go the other way. So we do the opposite. We divide by 3, which is why we get the value of t. Oh dear, lost it all again. We do the opposite, which is why we get the value of t being 4. That's using a function, what's called a function machine, so you can do it many different ways. So I'm going to show you the same thing on part B here. What is in the way of the x being on its own? Well, what is in the way is this -2. So, because then if I got rid of that -2, you can see hopefully that the x would be on its own. So how do I get rid of a -2? Well, I get rid of a -2 by plussing 2. That will kind of neutralise it. But if I do that on that side of the equation, I must do it on the other. So that's now been dealt with, and this is what I've got to do here, and that leaves me with 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. I'm going to show you using a function machine as well. So you can think about it like this. The x has had a 2 taken away from it, and we've got the answer 6. So I'm going to go back the other way. I'm going to do the opposite, which is why I get my answer of 8 as x. So x, as you can see here, is 8. And finally, this one. So remember, the aim of solving an equation is to get the letter on its own. So we want to get w on its own. What is in the way of that? Well, the +2 and the 6 that is attached to the w. What you want to do with equations like this is you want to deal with everything that is not attached to the x first, okay? So what's not attached to the x is the +2. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of it, a bit like I did up here. I'm going to get rid of it by subtracting 2. But if I do that there, I must do it here. So that's now dealt with. And I'm going to do this. This gives me 18. And then if that's gone, this just drops down. So 6w equals 18. Now, what's in the way of w being on its own? The 6, and 6w means 6 times w, so to undo that, I'm going to divide by 6. And whatever I do to that side, I must do to this side, which is why we get the answer 3. So w equals 3. I'm going to show you using a function machine as well. So when you're using a function machine, start with the letter. What's happened to it? It's been times by 6. Then what's happened to it? 2 has been added. What do we get as our answer? 20. Let's go back the other way. 20, do the opposite. Take away 2. Do the opposite, divide by 6. Which is why we get that w is equal to 3. The final thing I want to say is that you should be able to walk away from your page of equations in an exam knowing that you have got the answers correct. Well, hopefully anyway. And you can do that by substituting your answer back in. So what I mean by that is this. That put it back in to here. So 4 plus 4 plus 4, does it equal 12? Yes. Put this back in, substitute it back in. If I put 8 there, 8 take away 2, does it equal 6? Yes. Substitute this back in. If I do 6 multiplied by 3, I get 18, and 18 plus 2 equals 20. Brilliant. All correct. 4 marks in my exam. Okay, well done. Hopefully you understand that.